Did you know that 68% of adults over 60 regularly face criticism from their grown children about their lifestyle choices? Yet what's truly surprising isn't the criticism, it's how a simple shift in your response can completely transform these painful interactions. After 25 years of working with thousands of seniors navigating family dynamics, I've discovered 6 specific phrases that instantly command respect when your adult children question your decisions. These aren't just polite comebacks, they're powerful psychological tools that establish clear boundaries while preserving your loving relationship. The 4th response is particularly effective for those difficult money conversations. If you've ever felt dismissed, controlled, or disrespected by your adult children's helpful suggestions, this video could change everything. Share your city in the comments and hit subscribe for more wisdom that puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. Before we dive into these 6 powerful responses, I want to share something personal with you. Last month, I received a heartbreaking email from Margaret in Phoenix. She wrote, "I feel like I've become a child again, but not in a good way. My daughter questions every decision I make, from what I eat to how I spend my money. I raised her to be independent, but now she won't let me be independent. I love her, but I'm starting to dread her visits." Margaret's situation isn't unique. After working with seniors for over 2 decades, I've seen this pattern repeat itself thousands of times. The child becomes the parent, and the parent feels diminished. But here's what's fascinating, and what changed everything for Margaret. The problem isn't usually about your decisions. It's about how you respond to their criticism. Today, I'm going to share 6 specific responses that instantly shift the power dynamic back in your favor. These aren't about creating conflict, they're about establishing mutual respect while maintaining your loving relationship. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to say when your adult children question your choices about your living situation, your health decisions, your social life, your financial choices, your daily routine, and even your dating life. After 60. I've also created a free printable guide with these responses that you can keep handy. I'll tell you how to get it later in the video. Before we get to the responses, let's understand what's really happening when your adult children criticize you. This insight alone will change how you feel about these interactions. There are 3 primary reasons adult children become critical of their aging parents. First, role reversal anxiety. Your children have spent their entire lives seeing you as the capable one, the provider, the problem solver, the rock. As they notice changes in you, whether real or perceived, it triggers anxiety. Their criticism often comes from fear, not disrespect. Second, projection of their own aging fears. When your daughter insists you should exercise more or your son questions your driving, they're often projecting their own fears about aging. Each criticism of you is secretly a worry about their future selves. Third, genuine love, expressed poorly. This is the most important point. Most criticism from adult children comes from a place of love. They want you to be safe, healthy, and happy. They just express it in ways that feel controlling rather than caring. Understanding these motivations doesn't mean you should accept disrespect, but recognizing the love behind the criticism makes it easier to respond effectively rather than reactively. Let me share a quick story about my client Robert from Chicago. His son would call daily to ask if he'd taken his medication. Robert felt infantilized and resentful until he realized his son was still traumatized from finding his other parent unconscious from a missed medication years earlier. This understanding didn't solve the problem, but it changed how Robert felt about the call. That changed everything about how he responded. Now, let's talk about the critical difference between genuine concern and unhealthy control, because not all input from your children should be dismissed. Signs of genuine concern. They ask questions before offering advice. They respect your final decision, even when they disagree. They focus on specific issues rather than general criticism. They speak to you privately rather than embarrassing you. They listen more than they talk. Signs of unhealthy control. They make decisions without consulting you. They use phrases like "you always" or "you never." They bring up your age as a reason to doubt your judgment. They share their concerns about you with others before talking to you. They use guilt or emotional manipulation. Here's a simple test. After an interaction with your adult child, ask yourself, do I feel respected? If the answer is no, you're likely experiencing control rather than concern. Mary from San Diego shared that her daughter would reorganize her kitchen cabinets during visits without asking. When Mary objected, her daughter said, "Mom, I'm just trying to make things easier for you." This is classic control disguised as concern. The 6 responses I'm about to share work particularly well when you're dealing with control rather than genuine concern. But even when the concern is legitimate, these responses help maintain your dignity while acknowledging their care. Response number 1. The first powerful response is what I call the appreciation pivot. This works especially well when your adult children offer unsolicited advice about your living situation or daily routines. Here's the phrase, I appreciate your concern. I've thought carefully about this and I'm comfortable with my decision. Let's break down why this works so effectively. First part, I appreciate your concern. This acknowledges their good intentions. You're not dismissing them or their feelings, which immediately reduces defensiveness. Second part, I've thought carefully about this. This subtle reminder establishes that you're not making impulsive decisions. You've considered the options, perhaps even the same ones they're suggesting. Final part, I'm comfortable with my decision. This firm but gentle statement reasserts your autonomy without creating conflict. Let me show you how this works in practice. Scenario: your daughter visits and says, "Mom, this house is too big for you now. You should really think about moving to that senior community near me." Ineffective response: you just want me closer, so I can babysit more often. Creates conflict and ignores any legitimate concerns. Another ineffective response: maybe you're right. Surrenders your autonomy when you don't actually agree. Effective response, using the appreciation pivot: I appreciate your concern about the house. I've thought carefully about my living situation, and I'm comfortable with my decision to stay here for now. Notice how this response acknowledges her concern while firmly maintaining your position. It doesn't leave room for argument, but also doesn't create unnecessary tension. Barbara from Denver used this exact phrase when her son kept pushing her to sell her car. She reported that after using it consistently for 2 weeks, he finally said, "I just want you to be safe, Mom." This opened the door to a much more respectful conversation about her driving habit. Response number 2. The second powerful response is the information request. This is particularly effective when your children make assumptions about your health decisions or lifestyle choices. Here's the phrase: "That's an interesting perspective. What specific information are you basing that on?" This response works on multiple levels. First part, "That's an interesting perspective." This acknowledges their input without agreeing or disagreeing. It's neutral but respectful. Second part, "What specific information are you basing that on?" This politely challenges them to provide evidence rather than opinion. Often, you'll discover their concerns are based on something they read online or heard from a friend, not solid information. Let's see this in action. Scenario: your son says, "Dad, you shouldn't be taking those supplements. They're probably just a waste of money." Ineffective response: "I'll take whatever I want. I'm not senile yet." Creates unnecessary conflict. Another ineffective response: "Well, my friend Betty takes them and she says they help." Puts you in a defensive position. Effective response, using the information request: "That's an interesting perspective. What specific information are you basing that on?" This response often reveals that they don't actually have solid information. Your son might say, "Well, I just read an article somewhere." This gives you the opportunity to say, "I appreciate your concern. I've discussed these supplements with my doctor, who supports my decision." If they do have legitimate information, this response opens the door to learning something valuable without feeling diminished. James from Seattle used this response when his daughter criticized his decision to start swimming instead of continuing with his walking routine. Her concern turned out to be based on an article about swimming and ear infections in children, not relevant to his situation at all. The conversation shifted from criticism to laughter once this was revealed. Response number 3. The third powerful response is the boundary clarifier. This is essential when your adult children overstep in areas of your personal life, particularly your social activities or dating choices. Here's the phrase: "I understand you care about me, but this is a decision I need to make for myself." Let's examine why this works. First part, "I understand you care about me." Again, you're acknowledging their good intentions, which prevents the conversation from becoming adversarial. Second part, "But this is a decision I need to make for myself." This clearly establishes your boundary without apology or excessive explanation. Here's how to use it. Scenario: your daughter says, "Mom, I don't think you should be dating so soon after Dad passed away. What will people think?" Ineffective response: "It's none of your business." Creates conflict and damages communication. Another ineffective response: "You're right. Maybe I should wait longer." Surrenders your autonomy in a deeply personal matter. Effective response, using the boundary clarifier: "I understand you care about me, but this is a decision I need to make for myself." This response is particularly powerful because it doesn't engage with their specific objections. Whether they're concerned about what people will think or any other aspect of your choice, you're simply asserting your right to make personal decisions. Patricia from Miami used this response when her children objected to her friendship with a neighbor they considered inappropriate. After using this phrase consistently, her son eventually said, "You're right, Mom. I just worry about you." This led to a more honest conversation about his concerns, without him feeling entitled to make decisions for her. Response number 4. The fourth response is specifically designed for those difficult conversations about money. I call it the financial autonomy assertion. Here's the phrase: "I've managed my finances for many decades, And while I appreciate your input, I'm comfortable with my financial decision. This response is powerful because, first part, I've managed my finances for many decades. This subtly reminds them of your experience and competence. Middle part, and while I appreciate your input, again, acknowledging their intention without ceding control. Final part, I'm comfortable with my financial decision. A clear statement that maintains your autonomy in financial matters. Let's see how this works. Scenario, your son says, "Dad, you shouldn't be donating so much to that charity. You need to think about your future care needs." Ineffective response, "It's my money, and I'll do what I want with it," creates unnecessary conflict. Another ineffective response, "Well, maybe you're right," surrenders your financial autonomy. Effective response using the financial autonomy assertion, "I've managed my finances for many decades, and while I appreciate your input, I'm comfortable with my financial decision." This response is particularly effective because money discussions often trigger the deepest control issues between adult children and their parents. Your children may genuinely worry about your financial security or their potential future responsibility, but that doesn't give them the right to control your current financial choices. William from Portland used this response when his children questioned his decision to take a cruise at his age. He reported that it not only stopped the immediate criticism but led to a more respectful tone in future conversations about money. Response number 5. The fifth powerful response is the experience reminder. This works particularly well when your children question your judgment about everyday decisions. Here's the phrase, "I've navigated similar situations many times in my life. I value your concern, but I trust my experience in this matter." Let's break down its effectiveness. First part, I've navigated similar situations many times in my life. This gently reminds them of your decades of life experience. Middle part, I value your concern, acknowledging their input without surrendering your authority. Final part, but I trust my experience in this matter. A clear statement that your judgment comes from wisdom, not stubbornness. Here's how to use it. Scenario, your daughter says, "Mom, you shouldn't drive in that neighborhood anymore. It's not as safe as it used to be." Ineffective response, "You worry too much. Nothing's going to happen to me." Dismisses their concern completely. Another ineffective response, "If you think it's not safe, I guess I won't go there." Surrenders your independence. Effective response using the experience reminder. I've navigated similar situations many times in my life. I value your concern, but I trust my experience in this matter. This response works because it shifts the focus from your age, which they may see as a liability, to your experience, which is undeniably an asset. It reminds them that you've been making sound judgments since before they were born. Eleanor from Atlanta used this response when her son questioned her decision to hire a particular contractor for home repairs. She reported that it completely changed the dynamic, actually asked for her advice on hiring contractors the following month. Response number 6. The sixth and final powerful response is the mutual respect request. This is the most direct approach and should be used when other responses haven't been effective or when the criticism has become a pattern. Here's the phrase, "I respect your right to make your own decisions, and I'm asking for the same respect in return." This response works because, first part, I respect your right to make your own decisions. This establishes the principle of autonomy that you're asking them to honor. Second part, and I'm asking for the same respect in return. This clearly names what you need from them, respect, not agreement. Let's see it in action. Scenario, your son says, "Dad, I think it's ridiculous that you're still mowing your own lawn at your age. You need to hire someone." Ineffective response, "When I need your advice, I'll ask for it." Creates unnecessary conflict. Another ineffective response, "Well, maybe next year I'll consider it." Avoids the real issue of respect. Effective response using the mutual respect request. I respect your right to make your own decisions, and I'm asking for the same respect in return. This response is powerful because it names the real issue rather than debating the specific topic at hand. Whether they're criticizing your lawn care, your diet, or your social choices, the fundamental issue is the same. You deserve the same respect you give them. Richard from Boston used this response when his children repeatedly criticized his decision to continue living alone after his wife passed away. He reported that his daughter actually apologized, saying, "You're right, Dad. I wouldn't want you telling me how to live my life." Remember, the goal isn't to create conflict with your children, it's to establish healthy boundaries while preserving your loving relationship. These responses work because they acknowledge your children's good intentions while firmly maintaining your autonomy. I'd love to hear your experiences. Which of these responses do you think will work best in your situation? Share in the comments below. And don't forget to mention your city. I love knowing where our community members are from. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content that helps you navigate relationships with dignity and wisdom. Until then, Remember, you've earned the right to make your own choices. These responses will help ensure that right is respected. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.